when it comes to recruiting those guys from like the cities, is it like any more difficult since, Penn State's in the middle of the state, more rural or anything like that?
That's another good question. Again, recruiting, I've always said, is about a fit. And so whether the guy's from a city or the guy's from a suburb or he's from the countryside, if he comes to Penn State and he feels good about the environment and the people that are going to coach him and obviously his teammates and his opportunities in the academic side of things, then he feels comfortable going to Penn State, then that's where he's going to go. I mean, I think it's more about a fit than it is necessarily how difficult it is to get a city guy to go there or a suburban guy to go there. I think it's just all about when they get here. We find that when we are able to get prospects on our campus, that is a huge thing. And the reason for that to me is, number one is the student body. I think it's a fantastic student body. For those of you that have only been at Penn State, and haven't been other places, let me tell you, this is the best student body that I've been around. They all love the football team and they really support us and they know the recruits and things like that. And then it's the academic side of things, obviously, all the things you have to choose from. But probably most important when it comes to football, there's not a lot of 108,000 seat stadiums around there and weight rooms like we have. So when we have a young man on campus, that's a big deal for us. So that's really helps us out a lot, regardless of where they come from.
Because of the limitations of scholarships, is there a bigger premium on, say, the intangibles we're looking at recruits these days? Leadership volleyball, like the off-field stuff?
There's definitely a big premium on that. I don't know if it would be any bigger if we were under any, for me personally. I believe in my experiences in coaching, the times that I've been around winning teams, it's always been with the majority of those rosters being, high character guys that were good football players that cared about being a good teammate, and we had good leaders. Any team that I was around that wasn't successful didn't have enough of those guys. So there will, regardless of what the situation is at Penn State, for me personally, what I believe in, which is I have a huge, strong belief in this, that we're going to do this with good, tough, smart kids that understand the meaning of being a good teammate. And that's hard in recruiting, because recruiting nowadays is about, how many stars did this guy get? How many offers does this guy have? Because recruiting is very much individual, even though you're recruiting a guy for a team sport. So when they come to Penn State, we obviously have to talk to them a lot about, remember now, you're an important member of the team. You're a role guy on this team, and if we're recruiting the right guys, it doesn't take long for those guys to accept that and find that role.
You talk about the city, but maybe more the country. You've got a handful of walk-ons within about half an hour of Williamsport.
Right.
In general terms, what are you looking for in your run-ons?
Well, primarily we're looking for guys from Pennsylvania that are good students, that are good football players, that understand that the opportunity that they have right now at Penn State is a very unique one. And you're right, we have a number of guys from this area and in Pennsylvania. I think we have 41 total guys on our roster from Pennsylvania, thereabouts. And many of those guys are run-ons. And so it's huge for us. And what I've found, I guess, and I don't want to get into the details of this, so don't ask me about the details, but the night before we played Wisconsin, I had each senior stand up and talk about their experience at Penn State. And one of the things, among many things that stood out to me, was the Pennsylvania guys that stood up and how much it meant to them to play football at Penn State, to run out of that tunnel with that Penn State uniform on, and that they had always dreamed about doing. I remember Jake Fagnano just really talking about how much it meant to him to play football at Penn State, being from Pennsylvania, that he'd grown up watching it. And I think those are the type of Pennsylvania guys that we're looking for.
I don't see much differences between last year and this year. I think last year just that it was a new project kicking it off, so we're real excited about reaching out to the different communities and telling them a little bit about our programs, specifically our sport, and then just what's been happening at Penn State. What's exciting for me this year is to just go into different cities. Last year I was in Philadelphia and Harrisburg, and this year to be up here in Williamsport, heading out to Allentown, and then I'll be finishing up in New York City. So that'll be exciting. The other thing that's exciting for me is I have Pav here with me. Last year I didn't have Pat. I was with two wackadoodles, O'Brien and Chambers. So this year I've got a little bit more stability from a past engineer, I should say.
Yeah. It's been, last year was just a great experience to get out, to actually meet people and just feel the passion that everybody has for Penn State at these stops. And, and to spend time with Char, to spend time with Bill. Last year, spend time with Guy Godowski, and I think Guy's going to join us later on this leg. There's just, one of the great things about Penn State is the great coaches. And we're so tied up from our day-to-day routine that we don't get a chance to just unwind and spend time together and really talk about our profession. And this is always a real nice time for that to occur.
So would you agree with our assessment that O'Brien and Chambers are wacking with you?
I wasn't with Chambers. I guess I'll find that out tomorrow. I think Pat joins us up in New York. So, but the other half of that, yeah, I agree with her.
Probably pretty much.
Can you two expand upon what you said, Mark, talk about the solidarity and the camaraderie of the head coaches, especially over the past year and a half, as different ways you've relied on each other and buttressed each other?
I think one thing that Bill has brought to the athletic department here, and obviously to the community, you hear his resounding theme called the One Team, and we live that every day. And he has just really done an outstanding job of keeping our coaches group more cohesive, I would say. Pav and I have been with the university for a long time. We go way back, but we've had so many new coaches come into the athletic department, so it's been great to share time with them. So I think there's been just even more of a surge of camaraderie between the coaches the past couple of years, knowing that, you know, we as a group right now, we're dealing with a lot of adversity and we have to stick together, and, you know, we're willing to do that. We embrace that challenge. We totally embrace it. And I think more throughout this year, I've been at Penn State 26 years ago, my 27th year. I've seen more coaches at the various events, more student athletes supporting student athletes. So I think it's just been a real positive experience for all of us.
And when we're in our little areas, you know, with Rec Hall, there's women's volleyball with Russ, wrestling with Kale and his staff, men's and women's soccer, and my staff in Rec Hall. You run into them daily, and it just reinforces, I think, what we all believe and what we and how our student athletes run into each other on a day-to-day basis. And like Char said, there's such a great feeling of being together right now. And I think the coaches have just kind of taken that even a step further. I think we do try to get out and support each other and really just let each other know, hey, we're all in this together.
I believe we had 5-7 Big Ten championships this past season, but then to the excitement of both men's lacrosse teams, the men and women's lacrosse team going into the NCAAs this year. You know, the softball team's going to head out to, you know, compete in their Big Ten tournament. Seeing what track did at the Penn relays. I mean, I think there's just been so much more success between the programs from season to season, which obviously, you know, gets us up in that, you know, being 3 in the country is not too shabby. And I know the women, you know, I think are sitting, our program's probably at number 1. I mean, we're all one team, but I think that just the success that the women have had this past year as well is something that to be very, very proud of. And I think we need to keep getting that message out there. This is a highly successful athletic program, not just on the field, on the courts, but, you know, in the classroom as well. So there are so many positive things to talk about. And I think the Learfield gives us that national recognition, that national stage, and hopefully we can win that one of these years.